Jasmeet, I am so happy to have you on my show. We have known each other, I think, almost a decade, right?
10 years, yeah.
Oh my gosh. You still look the same. Like, what's the
I
deal?
feel like I was such a baby when I first met you. I think I was like 21, 22, and now 10 years later, here we are.
And you still look like a baby. What's
well,
changed?
Thank you.
I mean, the only thing that's changed is that you've had this tremendous career. I'm really excited to be talking to you about it because I've been following you and I'm like, this girl just keeps going from better to fabulous to great. And it's not that often that you get to come back to Toronto and you're here. So I've had the moment to be able to sit with you and we're going to talk about how you kind of got to where you are today. You are working with Masterclass and you have a very fundamental role there. I'm going to come back there, but let's talk about your start. Born in Malaysia, lived in Malton, Brampton, went to school here at UFT. Talk to me a little bit about those early days. What were some of your aspirations, about what you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, I mean, so I obviously, grew up in Mississauga, Brampton, Greater Toronto area, and a South Asian family. I think every young South Asian goes through the rite of, I have to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer. So I wouldn't necessarily say I had the pressure to be that. I think I just gave myself that idea. I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. And then from there, it was like, oh, maybe a veterinarian or maybe this kind of doctor. But it was always like the health field was something that I was driving towards. So I ended up going to University of Toronto, enrolling in the life sciences, actually. So I took all the physics, the chemistry, the bio, and it just was never something I questioned. It was just like, this is what I'm going to be doing.
Right.
And then in university, I just got exposed for the first time to just a diversity of different career paths that I could be pursuing. And I think underneath all of that, there was always a little bit of inkling of wanting to do something with the media. My mother, we were immigrants growing up, and she was a newspaper delivery for the Toronto Star. So I actually grew up with the newspaper in my house, like every single day growing up when I was 5, 6 years old. And I think that contributed to this feeling of wanting to be a part of the media and like, what is this world that I could be a part of? And that inkling, I think, started growing for the first time when I was at the University of Toronto. I was like, oh, there's student newspapers and I'm living in downtown Toronto for the first time. The CBC is nearby. And I was just exploring those worlds for the first time. And I think by the time I finished university, it kind of settled in my mind that I wanted to be a journalist specifically. So I graduated University of Toronto and started my first internship with the Toronto Star.
Wow. Photojournalism or reporter?
I think it was just, it started out being a reporter that, my first internship was basically working in the radio room. So for those of you who don't know what the radio room is, it's basically you're listening to police scanners all night long to just see if like a homicide happens. And if something crazy happens, like an explosion or Queen Elizabeth dies overnight, across the pond, I would have to call an editor, wake them up and be like, Queen Elizabeth has died, or there's been an explosion or 5 homicides. So it was literally being the ears and the eyes for the newsroom was my first internship. And I definitely really loved it. It was very stressful though. A part of me during that internship questioned, like, is this really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, of like going out to people's worst moments, in a homicide or in a car accident and having that be my life. And don't get me wrong, I totally respect the work that journalists do, especially now more than ever.
Absolutely.
But it was a question of like, oh God, is this really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? I knew though that I wanted to continue to work in media, maybe expand what that could possibly mean. I think, looking back, I think every step of my life was just discovering more and more of what avenues were available to me. When I was a teenager, all I thought was I could be a doctor. When I was in university, all I thought was like to be in media was to be in journalism. And then when I finished my internship, I realized to be in media could be so many different other things.
Absolutely. I know that you did a stint in New York at Facebook. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about how that kind of happened for you.
Yeah, so Facebook came much later on. So actually what happened was I finished my internship at the Toronto Star, decided I didn't necessarily want to be a reporter, but I wanted to expand what the world of media could look like. And, to me, there's no bigger playground to exploring that than in New York City. And so I made the decision to pursue a master's degree in journalism at Columbia University. Wow. So I went down there, and then that was just an explosion of what being in media could be beyond just being a beat reporter. So through my graduate program, I was able to just reach out and have coffees with all kinds of people, like reality TV producers, people working in digital media, people who even worked at like the Colbert Report and the Jon Stewart Show when that was still going on. And that was an amazing experience. Like I got to go and see a taping of the Colbert Report when it was still airing. And it was just the exciting feeling of being on a set and having cameras turn on and having watch someone perform. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so when I finished my degree, I realized that, what that feeling meant for me about being in media meant more of maybe I want to be part of visual entertainment. Maybe I want to create something rather than being on the sidelines reporting about what was happening. I wanted to be the person making things happen. So from there, I kind of just, on a whim, really, I was just like, oh, what does that mean to be part of visual entertainment? I was like, music videos. Like I'd always loved watching music videos on Much Music. And I don't know if Much Music still is showing music videos nowadays or not. It was just at the start of like YouTube, and the number one most watched content on YouTube is actually music videos, which people don't really realize a lot.
Absolutely.
And I just saw this like burgeoning with the rise of YouTube, with the rise of music videos. Music videos were now being seen more of like an art form. We've kind of seen the culmination of that with like a music video, the one by Childish Gambino, This Is America, where it's like you can use music videos for statements to brand an artist. And it just felt like a world I wanted to be a part of. So I had no connections, obviously. I was like, oh, I want to do music videos. And in my heart, it just kind of clicked very instantly. I'm like, I need to be in Los Angeles for this.
Absolutely.
There's media opportunities available in Toronto. There's media opportunities available in New York. But like I sat down, I was like, where is the heart of this industry? And I was like, there are people who have actual jobs to make music videos. A music video director is a real job. And it was like such an amazing thing to like suddenly realize that like something that you just watch on TV, there's fields of people whose sole job is dedicated to creating this. So I was like, I got to go to Los Angeles. Okay. Who do I know in Los Angeles? Nobody. And it was just like, I just need to find one person. And so I like sat down at Columbia University in my dorm, made a list of like my top 10 music videos that I liked. I was like, okay, who's the director behind these things? Who are the production companies behind them?
So smart.
Went on IMDb and I just like made a list. And I think like at the time I was really into Rihanna. So like 5 of them were like Rihanna music videos. And lo and behold, there was like one guy who was like her music video director making her music videos. His name was Anthony Mandler. And I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy I need to work for. So I ended up purchasing like IMDb Pro for like $13 a month, which was like a lot of money back then. I was like, this is an investment in my career, and ended up finding like his lawyer's office or his agent's office or some office of his, and like wrote out a letter just explaining, just very honestly. Like I didn't try to be smart or like, cool. I was just saying, hey, I grew up in Canada. I'm at Columbia University in journalism. I realized music videos is something I really want to do. You have directed some of my favorite music videos, like, Disturbia by Rihanna, and just explaining it in a very long letter. This is something I really want to be a part of, and I don't know how to get started. Would you ever want to have coffee with me? It was a very honest letter, and I just sent it to him and like did not think I would ever hear from him, but I got an email from him, and he was just like, oh, you should totally have coffee with me. Like, let's have coffee next week. At so-and-so cafe in Los Angeles. Cause I guess in his mind, I was already in Los Angeles, and I was like, shit, I'm in New York. But it was just like, that was all I needed to just take the leap. I had heard from a lot of people that it's hard for someone to give you a job when you're not already in the city.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to commit, go there, and then start hustling to find a job. So I was like, it just all kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, this is where I need to be to just get this career started somehow. So I bought a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. I remember my mom, I went back home to Toronto for a bit. I remember my mom like driving me to the Buffalo airport. That's where you can get cheaper tickets. Yeah. And I remember the ticket only cost like $200 or something. And I was like, bye, Mom. I'm like, she was like, good luck. She didn't really understand, but she was very supportive, which I had always appreciated. Landed in Los Angeles and had coffee with him, and he was like, you should totally, because I was coming in with all this enthusiasm, and he's like, you should come and visit one of my music video sets. And to me, I was like, oh my God, I get to go see a music video set. And then I was like trying to be cool and trying to be casual. I was like, oh, who's the music video for? And he's like, and he was just like doing something. I was like, oh, I think it's for Taylor Swift or something. And I was like, my heart just like dropped. But like, I'm trying to like, keep cool on my face. So Taylor Swift is one of my favorite artists ever. And I was just like, oh my God, this is happening. And so that kind of launched into the world that I entered, which was like music videos and like working with him. And continuing on into this path into like visual entertainment.
And you've actually amassed quite the portfolio in that kind of genre, starting off as a journalist. And, you know, there's a lot of photography around your portfolio. There is a lot of kind of, you know, video, you know, creative directorship around, you know, the work that you've done. You work with some of the biggest people. You just mentioned your debut foray into kind of the video realm was a Taylor Swift video. And you've done a ton with a lot of other artists. Tell me, because, you know, a lot of people, you know, who aren't really in this world don't really kind of understand how you make a career from it, right? I know it takes a lot of guts. I know there's a lot of hustle in it. And it's not like, as you mentioned off the top of our interview, you know, you study for a doctor's degree and you become a doctor. And it's like, it's a fail-proof career, right? This isn't. I mean, the hustle's the same. You're still working as hard, but you don't necessarily always kind of accomplish the same, you know, end result. But you're one of the few that have. And I feel that there's always been an opportunity there that you've kind of gone after. I feel that that's kind of been your journey, but I want you to tell me, with all of the changes that you've had and the different places that you've lived, the different types of people you worked with, whether it's been straight up journalism, whether it's been photography, or whether it's been being a part of kind of the world of video, what has been that gut feeling in you where you've been like, okay, this has got to be my next step? Because it could be anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Especially in this world.
I think I was speaking about this with my friend recently, and she actually said it to me, and it took me aback. She's like, you have always been really honest about what you need and like where you need to go. And at first I didn't believe her, because I'm like, you know, at times in anyone's career, like you don't always know what the larger strategy is. And like, oh, you take this job and then you take that job. And I think when I look back at like the last 8 years, I suppose, that I've been working in this industry, I think there's a little bit of a true element to that. I've always been very clear in understanding that like life is short, and then you just kind of need to go after opportunities when they present themselves. Like there's another world where Anthony Mandler could have been like, have coffee with me in LA, and I could have been like, oh, I'm in New York, can you wait till I'm in LA 3 months later? You know?
Absolutely.
There's the visceral feeling of like, when the iron is hot, you strike it, or whatever that saying is.
Yeah.
You know,
strike the iron while the iron is hot.
I'm always bad with those sayings. But
I might have just messed it up here, but
right.
Anyway, let's carry on.
Basically, when the opportunity presents itself, that is worth so much more than any money out there. Opportunities are priceless. So I think I've been able to just viscerally see them when they come and just run after them, you know? So when Anthony Mandler was like, have coffee with me in LA, a day later, I'm driving to Buffalo and I'm like, I'm going to LA, worst case scenario, my mom can pay for my ticket to come home to Toronto. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it was the same thing. Like, you know, when I started getting into photography more, how that happened was we did a music video with this band from Kentucky called Cage the Elephant. Had a great relationship. I think I was a PA on the set. I had a great relationship with the executive producer. And I saw that Cage the Elephant was going on tour. And it was just like, this is a moment right here. You know, why not ask, you know, the people that met through the music video set, like, can I take photos for them on their tour? And then that led to my very first concert photos. And then, you know, fast forward a few years later, I had a portfolio of concert photos, and I was like, why not do this for Taylor Swift? And I had remembered the people that I worked with from the Taylor Swift music videos. And I just asked them like, look, I have a portfolio that didn't exist like 3 months ago. You know what I mean? And they were like, sure. And then from there, you just kind of keep building and keep asking and keep building. And so I don't think it was necessarily like I had a grand strategy. I was just always seeing opportunities and asking for them and understanding that, you know, no is not a terrible thing. Mm-hmm. You know, what's the worst case scenario? A lot of times it's just a no. You know, I'm healthy, you know, you're physically all right. Like someone virtually saying no in an email, it's nothing, you know?
Absolutely. But, you know, it's something to a lot of people. Like a lot of people psychologically aren't able to handle the no or the rejection. And therefore, they never take a lot of the opportunities that come along their journeys. For those people, what would you say? Because for you, it seems to be a part of your DNA that, you know, it's not about the no, it's the yes that I'm focusing on. That's what I feel you're saying here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I do understand the psychological struggle. And I don't want to say that I've never dealt with that, you know, at many times in my career. But I think I think that there's a couple of things that I think about. One, life is really short. Like, my father passed away when I was 26. So I think that further emphasized that, like, we don't have a lot of time, you got to just really, whatever you're feeling in your heart, you have to really go for it and do it. And then second is just, think about the things that come in your way. There's so many 25 different things happening in your life. Sometimes you get an email for someone asking for something. You may forget to respond to that email, or you might not have time. And you recognize that it's nothing personal to that person. You just got 35 other things happening. I get a lot of those emails now. So on the other end, when someone says no, you have to recognize, like, you don't know, there's 4,500 things happening in their world. It's so not personal.
It's so not about you.
Right. Yeah. And then the third thing is just, I hate to say it, but a lot of times it's just like a crapshoot. If your email comes at the right time of the day, if it goes to the right person, if it's the right time. And once you realize it's kind of a numbers game and a little bit of a crapshoot, you almost see it as like a video game. You just got to increase the number of, I'm going to try another thing, increase the number of hooks in the ocean or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And you hope that one of them is going to catch it. But if you only just put one hook and you put all your hope into that one little thing to get the fish to bite, the odds are, like, it's not going to happen. But if you put like 7, 8, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, the odds are hopefully someone's going to say yes. And that's an opportunity. And then you just make the most of that opportunity.
I absolutely love that. But you've also been written about extensively, Huffington Post, Glamour Magazine, Forbes.com. Talk to me a little bit about what does it mean to you to be kind of considered as someone worth talking about across media, let alone just regular media, but media that people really revere. Talk to me about that part of your kind of portfolio.
Super cool. I mean, as someone who, has grown up in, Malton, we were not like rich growing up, and our family is still very solidly like middle class in terms of just like how we live and our incomes, but it's very cool. And I think why people are kind of gravitated towards my story is because, I didn't come from a rich family. I didn't come from any sort of connections. I came from a very humble background, and I've been able to insert myself into some very incredible scenarios. And I think that's very inspiring for people, because it's like, it's one thing for someone who seems very far from you to achieve a certain level of fame. But when you see someone who comes from a similar background from you, like, oh, she went to the same temples I did, she went to the same schools I did, and now she's in this scenario, it almost seems so much more possible for me. So, I think that's what people are very, when I get these features on me, I think that's what people are very attracted to. And I'm very happy to talk about it, because I feel like when I was growing up, I never saw people like me. If I had seen someone like me growing up, I think I would have been on my journey even faster. And I think, if the only contribution that I can make is like some girl in Brampton is like, oh my God, she got to make a music video with Taylor Swift. Like, that is even possible. Like I said, like, when I was in high school, it was never even psychologically there in my mind that these careers were available. All I could think about was like, I just need to be a doctor. I guess that's what I'm going to do, just because I wasn't exposed to the different opportunities I could have had. And those happened much later on.
Absolutely.
So, through these interviews, if there's someone out there that is just like, I could do this, and all it requires is a lot of like hard work, a little bit of luck, and some like gumption and ambition, like, I'm happy to do it.
So what would you say to people that are starting their journey to try and figure out who it is that they want to be? Unfortunately, we have to make that decision at the age of 18. Yeah. And who really knows who they even are, let alone what it is that they want to contribute to the world. And when you think about the fact that you work for about 40 years of your life, that's a pretty heavy decision to make at the age of 18. But having been there, knowing where you are today, knowing that where you started off is not really where you thought you would end up, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old today, especially from our culture, especially for the women?
Well, I was going to say, I didn't know what I was doing at 18 years old. I was on a path to becoming a doctor living in Toronto, and look where I am now. So I wouldn't say necessarily you need to decide forever and ever at 18. I know there's like an incredible amount of pressure, and I've changed my job 4 different times. I've lived in 5 different cities now, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, what is my next step? So the first thing I would say is your life is not totally decided at 18 years old. There is room to grow and adapt and to pivot. And I think that's the most important thing to think of. In terms of advice specifically for young South Asian women, I think I'm so excited for like the women that are coming up now, because I feel like there's so much more opportunity and an acceptance for women and young women to go into a diversity of fields. I think we have some incredible role models and incredible tools at our disposal now with digital media and online media in terms of finding out what careers are available and seeing other people like them really just kill it in a variety of fields. And, like I said, I wish I had that growing up, because then I could have launched my career quicker. But I'm just so excited because I just feel like there's a growing acceptance for what it means to be a young South Asian woman, and having that diversity within an identity on multiple platforms is so exciting.
What is it about Masterclass that you feel stands out across all of the online educational portals and opportunities that are available for people to get involved in and to get more professional development from?
No one is doing the level of cinematic and production quality that we are, with the level of talent that we are, at the price points that we are. We have Helen Mirren and we have like Samuel L. Jackson. If you go on YouTube and watch interviews with them, it's always about like their personal life or things about their movies. When was the last time you ever got to like, these people have been asked questions about like, how do you actually do the craft of acting? Like when you're presented with this scene, how do you tackle it? And those questions are just never asked. And for aspiring actors, this is such a goldmine, I feel.
I could talk to you for hours. You're so interesting. You're so kind of logical about your journey. You're not in your own head about it, which is really awesome. Tell me what's next for you.
If you had told a 16-year-old me that I would be living in San Francisco, working at a tech startup and making a video with Annie Leibovitz, I'd be like, oh my God, how? But also, cool, sign me up. So it's like, and then if you ask like an 18-year-old self, my 18-year-old self that, or even like my 26-year-old self that, I don't think I could have predicted, even though it all seems kind of like logical, I don't think I could have predicted what was happening next. And I hope like the next stage, I'm not entirely clear what that would be, but I think there's going to be more huge opportunities in video streaming. Like Apple just announced, that they're starting their own platform. Disney's announcing they're starting on their own platform. I work in San Francisco. I'm meeting a lot of people who work in the startup industry. So I'm learning a lot about entrepreneurship. And I think there's something in my future around entrepreneurship, entertainment, and what exactly that is, I don't know, but I'm enjoying the work right now in Masterclass. I'm meeting a lot of interesting people. I'm learning a lot, so we'll see what happens next.
Brilliant. So what would be that one piece of advice that you'd give to people out there? You have a very entrepreneurial spirit. Everything that you've done screams of that, which is huge in the South Asian space. When you look at a lot of the content superstars out there, they're all like, in essence, entrepreneurs, right? So there's a lot of really great things that are happening in the world where South Asians are involved in a lot of the kind of online multimedia aspects and actually being their own bosses, right? You kind of are, even though you're working for other people, because you get to kind of move around as entrepreneurs would from one thing to another. Like you don't have to stay in one job the way it used to be back in the days when you get a job and you'd be there for at least 20 years of your life. That was the case with our parents' generation. It's not the case today. It's a different world. Kind of scary that you don't really get to be in a career and have the safety of it for like 20, 30 years the way it used to be with our parents. But it's also kind of a good thing because it allows you with every step of your journey to constantly keep developing your professional etiquette, right? With that said, what do you feel is the most powerful thing that you've learned so far in your entrepreneurial journey?
When I'm sitting at my computer and it's like, oh, am I going to be afraid to email this CEO? Am I going to look stupid? And it just something hits me of like, why not?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like he's got 7,500 things. Maybe he'll say yes. Maybe he'll say no. If he says yes, my whole life changes.
Absolutely.
So it's like, I always go back to this feeling of like, there's just no time to hesitate. There's no time to be afraid and to be scared because this is your life. Like, this is your life. You only get one chance at it. And, if you want to do something, just do it. Because, at the end, we're all just going to end up in the same place. Unfortunately, I know that's like a very sad way to like end the interview.
I don't think it is. I mean, we all come from the same place. We're all ending up in the same place. What we do in between there is what defines the uniqueness of our journey and our contribution to ourselves, the people we love, and society.
Yeah, like one of the things that really pains me is like when I see people who know what they want to do. they know what they want to do, but there's layers on top of that is muddling it. Cultural expectations, self-esteem issues, what they perceive as like available opportunities, or if they're in their 30s, they feel like it's too late, or 30s or 40s. And it's just like, they know what they want to do. Scratch off the other layers and focus on what you want to do and do it.